a look at bank reconciliation, what kind of information we need, what are the steps to complete a bank reconciliation. Then in the next video, we'll take a look at an example. Now, you're going to get a bank statement for the business, and that statement will have a date on it. More often than not, the dates now are the end of the month, but it doesn't have to be. The balance at the beginning of the period according to the bank account, any deposits that were added during the period, during the month, that increased the bank amount. And notice that the bank calls these credits. When you put money into the bank, they owe those monies back out to you. So to them, it's kind of like a liability. And so they call a deposit a credit. That's opposite of what you are calling, when you increase your cash, you call it a debit. So just have to remember that the bank is looking from the other side of the mirror, and they're going to call a deposit a credit, and they're going to call when you take money out, they're going to call that a debit. So any other checks or amounts that are subtracted, and they may call those debits on the statement. And then, so they take the beginning balance, they add any deposits, they subtract any checks and other subtractions, and they come up with the ending balance according to the bank. The bank may send the canceled checks. Those are the checks where they were endorsed by signatures, where they actually cleared. They might send like an imaged sheet of those check faces, or just a listing. They used to send all the actual canceled checks themselves, but that was a huge packet, and that costs a lot of money to send that. So then they started doing the image sheets, and now sometimes they don't even do that. But you can get those if you need them, okay? Many banks don't send these, but they are available if needed. Any other forms that they need to send would also be sent with the bank statement. So here we're showing if we had a bank statement of $4,350. That's the ending balance. After deposits were added and checks were subtracted, they came down to $4,350 that the bank thinks is in your account. But when you look in your general ledger cash account and you look in your check register, you show a balance that should be in there of $3,800. So in that case, they don't balance. And this is generally the case. They hardly ever are going to be the same, what the bank says that you have and what you say that you have. There's various differences that cause that. So to be able to make sure that everything is okay, we need to prepare a bank reconciliation. What we're trying to reconcile or bring together is the bank statement amount and the ending bank statement amount and the ending amount for the same period that's in your books, which would include your check register and the general ledger cash. We want to come to a true cash number because your books don't include everything and the bank doesn't include everything. So the bank number's not quite right, the book number's not quite right. So rather than just reconcile one to the other in accounting, we want to come to the true cash number. And so we want to make the books into that true cash number. Therefore, we need two sections to our reconciliation. We need a book section that takes our current book balance that we're showing and brings it to the true cash balance. Then we need a second section on our bank reconciliation that takes the ending bank balance that they say, and we want to make that into a true cash balance. Then, of course, the true cash balance of the books should equal the true cash balance of the bank. Now, if we're going to do a bank reconciliation, typically we would do this if you're doing it manually on accounting paper. Otherwise, you could type it on Word or Excel. Okay, you're going to have a heading, the name of the company, what is this? It's a bank reconciliation, and the date for the bank reconciliation. This would be the same date as the date that's on the bank statement. We have to reconcile it as of that exact date. So here, remember, we're going to have two sections. So here we're starting out with a bank section. So this says bank statement balance, and notice it's for October 31st. It's the ending bank statement balance, not the bank statement balance from the beginning of October. We want the ending, and that was, we said, $43.50. Okay, and there's going to be some things that the bank doesn't have. They don't have that information that we need to add, and some other things the bank doesn't have that we need to subtract. Okay, and once we add and subtract those things, we're going to come down to an adjusted bank balance. This is our true cash balance. We might call it reconciled bank balance, true bank balance, adjusted bank balance, any of those names like that. Okay, then, so that whole bank section is our first section, and we come down to the true cash balance in the bank. Now we're going to do the other section, which is the book section. And again, we need the balance in our books as of October 31st. Your check register for October 31st should show a certain amount, and once you have all your posting done, your October 31st balance in the cash account in the general ledger should be exactly the same as the check register. If it's not, you need to fix those so they're both equal. Now, we were told that that was, in this case, $3,800. Then we're going to have some things that we're going to add that our books didn't have that we need to add, and some things our books didn't have that we need to subtract. And then we'll get down to an adjusted book balance. And that's our true cash balance for the books. And of course, that should equal the true cash balance of the bank. And when that is correct, then what we say our bank statement or the cash account is reconciled. Now, what reasons do we have for various different differences between the books and the bank? Okay, well, there's something called outstanding checks. And these are checks that we wrote and we mailed the check, or some, we gave the check in some form or fashion to whoever it was supposed to go to, but maybe they haven't deposited it yet in their bank, or maybe they did, but it hasn't yet gone through the intermediary banking system, and come out of our bank account yet. So these checks are called outstanding checks. They're out there somewhere, Okay, but they haven't hit our bank yet. They haven't been subtracted. This can happen even with an electronic check. If we have some kind of auto pay or electronic transfer, sometimes that can take a couple days for it to process and actually happen. So if that happens, then those are called outstanding checks. And we need to subtract them. The bank, in other words, doesn't know about those. Okay, and so we need to subtract them. They need to go on the bank side because that's the section that doesn't know about it, and it needs to be subtracted, those checks. There's also a thing called deposits in transit. This is when we made a deposit, but the bank, it isn't showing up on the bank statement. It's not necessarily that the bank necessarily doesn't know about it because we brought the deposit there, but it hasn't maybe been processed and it hasn't been printed on the bank statement yet. Maybe the bank statement was being printed that same day that we made the deposit, something like that. If the deposit, you know you made a deposit and it was more than a couple days before the bank statement, there's a problem. You need to get on top of that and get on it quickly. It's possible that that deposit didn't get processed correctly. Okay, now again, we recorded these deposits already in our books. It's the bank statement that doesn't know about them. So we have to put these on the bank side of the reconciliation, and because they're deposits and would be added to our account if the bank did have them on the statement, we need to add them to the bank side. Service charges are what the bank charges us for a service charge. So if they need to print out more checks for us, various monthly fees, etc., etc. Typically for a business, the bank uses a formula, and the formula is based on how much activity we have. How many deposits are we putting in? How many checks and electronic transfers are coming out of our account? That's going to depend. That's going to tell them how much service charge they're going to charge us. So a small company that doesn't have too many checks going out, too many deposits coming in, doesn't take up too much time of the bank and the bank tellers and people who process things. And so they're going to charge a smaller service charge. A big business that has lots of activity going through the bank is going to have a larger service charge attached to it. So as soon as the bank runs us through this formula at the end of the month, okay, or right before the statement, they run us all of our activity through this formula and they figure out our service charge, they immediately take the money out of our account. So they know all about it. It's us. We know the service charge is going to come in, but we don't know how much from one month to the next. A lot of times your personal checking account may have a fee attached to it, but a lot of times that fee is a flat fee. It's the same every month. You know exactly how much it's going to be. Okay, whereas that doesn't always happen with a business. Okay, so it's us that doesn't know about it. So the books have not had that service charge subtracted yet. So we need to put that on the book side because it's the side that doesn't know about it, and it will need to be subtracted. Now this is if some customer of ours goes into the bank and makes a payment. Sometimes the business can have a note receivable where the customer signs an actual